Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly Q&A session, and today it is my pleasure to welcome here our coach Cristian. So hi Cristian, how are you today?
Hi, Veronica. I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's good to see you.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to see you too, as always. And I think we can start on a really nice note because I got a few really nice comments from FG. And he's writing, currently quitting sleep medications. I have been on several H1 receptors binding medications like mirtazapine, hydroxyzine, and lately small dose doxepin. It's tough after years, but I feel genuinely ready to do this. Really have to get your mind on board first. Wish me luck, and also good luck to everyone else struggling. And for anyone thinking, why quit if something is working? It's simply because the side effects list of those with doxepin and just the change of mind that I can actually make it without 100%. So this was really nice. Good luck to you, FG. I'm really happy to read these lines. And if you have any questions, just feel free to post it. And right, now we have a question from our follower, Annie. So hi, Annie. That night, my biggest fear came true and I had an all-nighter. 5 years ago, I had 8 days with zero sleep and it was interrupted with medication. Unfortunately, I am forbidden to take medications to sleep, again due to serious side effects. I'm so afraid of having no sleep again the next night. Can my brain, and another question is, can my brain be damaged if I can't sleep for many days, like zero sleep? So what do you think, Christian?
Thank you for the question. I think whenever we're in this struggle of insomnia, most of us, the idea of having zero sleep for one night is so incredibly scary, or 2 nights, or 3 nights, or whatever it is. And I think whenever we end up using something to help us or support us, and then all of a sudden it's taken away, again, of course, it can be incredibly scary. But know that the fear of insomnia is also this fear of wakefulness, and if
Mhm.
we can start learning to deal with the core of the problem, the what actually created the struggle, then we won't need the medications. Then we won't need anything as a crutch. I understand that unfortunately you're dealing with this fear of transitioning into this time where you are not going to use anything to support yourself or comfort yourself. But understand that so much of this that's happening that you're dealing with is a perceived fear. It's not a real threat. And I think the more we can start separating the difference between one and the other, the more we can realize that there isn't anything that we need to do. We don't have to fix anything. So, for example, if my house is on fire, that's not a perceived threat. That is a real threat. And the feelings and emotions that I'm experiencing are there to get me to do something, to move, either to get out or to call the fire department, to do something. But when it's these emotions, dealing with fear, with anxiety, and we ask ourselves, why is it? And there isn't a real threat, then we can start to kind of realize that these emotions are just triggering us and we don't have to do anything or respond to them. I think whenever we were dealing with this high intensity of insomnia, we're going to take these emotions, these thoughts, these feelings as real. Why? Because they feel so miserable and uncomfortable. So we're trying to do something to push them away or to get rid of them. Um, Veronica, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I very much agree, Christian, that it's so much about the fear and how we are trying to resist it, all the discomfort that we are experiencing. But what Annie also was asking, like, can my brain be damaged if I can't sleep for many days? Like zero sleep. Look, Annie, you mentioned that in 5 years ago you had this experience, like 8 days of no sleep, and nothing has been damaged. You are functioning for the next 5 years, right? And my insomnia also started with many all-nighters, one after another. But the one of the very first things that I have learned here as I stumbled on Daniel's channel is that there is no way to not sleep at all. Our brains always find ways how to take sleep. Maybe the sleep is not conscious. Maybe we are not aware of our sleep, but there are those little micro sleeps that our brain is literally taking from us, that it just make that it eventually helps us to function the next day, right? So insomnia recovery is the journey how to find the trust back to our own bodies. And one of the things is that we so many times, when we even, especially when we don't have the education, the understanding, we believe that our body is trying to sabotage us. Our brain is creating obstacles for our well-being or whatever. But we need to understand that our brain is doing this from the place of love and survival in the first place. So it sends us this hyperarousal, it sends us this fight or flight, like, hey, there is a threat out there. And when we are trying to literally protect, when our brain is trying to protect us, protect our survival, our being, then when we understand that it comes from the place of love and survival, it is a little bit more available to us, this acceptance, at least like, aha, my brain is trying to protect me, my brain is trying to help me. So I try to allow it at least 1% at this given moment. And then we are slowly and surely building this window of tolerance. Okay, maybe next time I resist a little bit less. And we take these tiny steps to acceptance. I know it's hard, Annie, but only the fact that you are here, that you are asking question, it shows your strength, your resilience, Annie, and you will get where you want to be. So thank you so much for your question, Annie. And now we have a really nice shout out from Amber. Just wanted to drop in and say with all my heart, the teachings of the Sleep Coach School work. I am so thankful for my struggles with sleep, as it built such resilience I wouldn't have had otherwise. What a wonderful comment. Thank you so much for writing this comment, Amber. And we also have here just a greeting from Ashley. Hi, coaches. Hi, guys. Thank you so much, Ashley. And we have a question from Daniel. So, hi, thanks for this nice talk. Whenever my eyes get sleepy through podcasts, talks, audiobooks, or TV, I feel super secure and know I can sleep. When this doesn't happen at night, I feel insecure. So what do you think, Cristian?
That's interesting. I remember pre-insomnia, 9:30, I would feel absolutely exhausted. It's just so difficult for me to not be able to even make it to the bed sometimes by 10 o'clock. And it sounds like that's something that we would like to have or experience, but in reality, it seemed a little too heavy. So even post insomnia, I don't always necessarily feel this heaviness of exhaustion or super tired. I don't crawl to bed. I just kind of my experience has been more what would feel more comfortable, what would feel best. And so I really can't tell you that I have that same heaviness, but I'm also grateful for it, because that heaviness was also more difficult to manage, really. The idea of just, kind of, it just felt heavier. And so now I really don't wait for any cues of being sleepy or super, exhausted or tired or anything. I just feel like what would feel more comfortable always seems to work best. And I think looking for those cues makes us also a little bit more vigilant, start to look for cues to set us or tell us when to go to sleep, as opposed to doing it more naturally. So I remember even when I was going through insomnia, at one point I was doing CBTI, I talked about, when you feel sleepy, go to bed. And there's so much pressure because we've been dealing and struggling with insomnia for a while, that the feeling sleepy, worked for a few days. And then all of a sudden I noticed my brain kind of monitoring or tracking and thinking, was I sleeping enough? Is it time to go to sleep? Should I go to sleep now? And if I fell asleep pretty quickly the last few times, it would make sense. And if I'm sleeping now, I should go to bed and fall asleep right away. And we're not machines, we're not robots, so things are going to fluctuate. And so instead of looking for any kind of cues, just go back to kind of the simplest thing is what would feel best, what would feel more comfortable. And then there's no pressure, there's no tracking, there's no monitoring of what we're feeling or what we're experiencing. And so it just, once again, has become something that's a lot more effortless.
Mm.
What do you think, Veronica?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree that chasing for these cues is making us more vigilant, like looking really, oh, am I sleepy enough? Am I not sleepy enough? And Danielle has a really nice analogy, like, are we asking ourselves, are we hungry enough to go to eat? So it's really similar, like we don't question whether we are hungry enough, right? But why do we question, are we sleepy enough to go to sleep? So if you feel like maybe it's the right kind of like the time to sleep, or we feel like, oh, we could just get some rest, then why not to just lay in bed and rest? And you said it really nicely, Christian, like what feels most comfortable in this given moment. So if it feels continue listening to podcasts, or if it feels like just resting in bed with eyes closed without any expectations, oh, I have to sleep, or oh, I have to do this or that, or I have to wait for these cues, then this is kind of like really helpful to ask yourself, what feels the most comfortable for me now? Very often it may feel like, oh, the most comfortable would be sleeping, right? But understanding that we cannot control sleep, and just rather letting it allow to come to us could be um, like kind of like the most helpful, or just resting in bed without this kind of like any expectations, right? If this makes sense. So that's what I wanted to add. And thank you for your answer, Christian. And now we have a question. Oh, here is one short one. Does meditation help? So what do you think, Christian? Have you ever meditated?
No, no. So regardless, whether it's, the most common ones are, meditation or breath work or yoga or whatever it is, it really is based on what the intent is. If we try to learn anything, breathing, yoga, meditation, with the intent to sleep, I think there's that sleep effort and there's that pressure to try and control it and find a way to manipulate or make sleep happen.
Mhm.
If we've been meditating in the past, or if it's something that we enjoy, we find it relaxing, and find it something that's like beneficial to us without the effort of trying to make sleep happen, then I think it's great. So does meditation work? If it was working for you, however you define work, if it's something that you enjoy, then it'll continue to work. If it's with the intent of I'm going to meditate to, make sleep happen, really with any, you can make an endless list of things. Is working out, exercising, it's, whatever it is, it's always about the intent. And so I would say that as long as you're not doing it with the intent to sleep, I think you're fine. But I don't know if there's anything humanly possible that we can do to make sleep happen, to make it, like you said, work. So
Yeah.
what do you think about it, Veronica?
Yeah, absolutely. I also tried to meditate when I was going through my insomnia, and looking back, clearly it was a sleep effort, and I literally hated it. Like, oh my goodness, I have to just listen to this meditation so I can sleep, right? I mean, for a few weeks, it worked magic. Like it was, oh, I would listen to it and I sleep wonderfully, right? And it worked basically until it didn't, right? Everything that I tried, like at some point, it failed me. And with this particular meditation, I mean, I enjoyed the fact that at the end of it, I fell asleep, but really, just that I have to do this, so I can't believe, right? But eventually, when I learn, of course, at the point where when it fed me that it didn't work, I was really disappointed with it. But looking back and learning about it, It is such a wonderful and freeing feeling that I don't have to listen to it. I don't have to anything for sleep to happen, right? So, uh, you know, each effort, everything, what we do teaches us something. And one of the things that we learn is that nothing works forever. So, yeah, just to wrap it up, Mountain, like Christian mentions, if you enjoy the meditation and you do it for the sake of just meditating and relaxing, then it's gonna work wonders. But as long as you put the pressure on it, then it might fail you.
Right. So the super short answer is no.
Absolutely. Right. And now we have a question from Janine K. After 18 months of recovery, last night I had a huge speed bump and my anxiety hit the roof. I eventually got to sleep on the sofa. Why do I still go back to feeling like this with speed bumps? So, what do you think, Cristian?
So I think what was really helpful, well, there are so many things that were helpful. So one of the many things that was super helpful when I was in this stage of recovery is I remember my wife and I were traveling quite a bit, and we're staying in hotels. And anytime I would have a speed bump, I felt like I'm engaged in this struggle again. And so I decided, and Daniel does a beautiful job of giving us, describing certain things so we can relate to it, right? So it's kind of like our own language, sleep efforts, speed bumps, all this stuff. It's to also understand that so many people are going through it, that it has its own name. And so what I did is at one point I thought, okay, listen, the more I label myself an insomniac and the more I label any difficult night as a speed bump, the more I feel like I'm still in the struggle. If you have been doing fine for 18 months, you are recovered. It's over. It's done. You're great. Now, don't forget that you're also a human being. And as a human being, you're going to have nights that maybe don't look the way that we want them to. But how oftentimes insomnia can start is if we have a struggle, a night or several nights, and it's how we respond to it. If we consider this as a speed bump or as a danger or a threat or as a problem, then our mind may start thinking about this as something that we need to fix once again. But in reality, if you were to ask my wife if she has a speed bump, first of all, she understands what that means just based on terminology that I've used. But if you ask her, have you ever had a night where you got up in the middle of the night and you couldn't go back to sleep, or a sleepless night? She's like, yeah, of course. What does she do about it? Nothing. And so this is, again, going back to an opportunity. After 18 months, I wouldn't even call it a speed bump. You just had a normal response as a human being. And what do you need to do about it? Nothing. There's nothing to do because we know that we can't control sleep. There's nothing we can do about it. And it's how we respond or engage to it that creates more pressure. And so all of us, whether we are, or in the struggle of insomnia or were at one point, really, there isn't anything to do. So feeling like this is a speed bump, boy, I tell you, after 18 months, I think it's just a normal experience. I don't think you have to even label it as such anymore. I think you've already proven to yourself that you're great, and just there's nothing to do here. So Veronika, what do you think?
I totally agree. We have one more comment from Janine. So true. I do think I have recovered. I will not dwell on it. Thanks so much. That's great advice. Thank you so much, Janine, for responding so quickly. And I don't think I do have to say anything more. Like Cristian has answered this question really wonderfully.
Yeah, I think she has a longer recovery than I have. So you're doing great.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on. We have a question from Lillian. So I have been struggling for 2 years and I barely get 2 or 3 hours on some days. I'm just never sleepy. So, what do you think, Cristian?
So whenever I hear, I'm never really sleepy. It sounds like you're dealing with this hyperarousal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your brain is perceiving a threat. It doesn't know the difference between being real or perceived, and so you're hyper vigilant, right? Anytime we feel like we're in a state of fight or flight, it's going to be very difficult for us to calm down and relax. I mean, truly be able to calm down and relax. And so recognize that number one, this is hyperarousal. We're dealing with fear, which is perceived. And what would be helpful? I think Daniel's program would be super helpful. Like, I don't know how much detail to go into, but we can start, implementing the timeless sleep window, which helps you to stop thinking about or how much time you're sleeping, right? Because if you know you're sleeping 2 or 3 hours, I'm sure we're checking the clock a lot. Where we're monitoring, and so that monitoring, we can notice that as we get up and we check the time or we check how much time we have left before the alarm goes off, that creates a lot of pressure. And so you think about somebody that was never dealing with insomnia and maybe only getting a couple hours of sleep and they don't perceive it as a threat, they don't do anything about it. And anything, whatever patterns that we're going through or whatever things we're experiencing, always changes. And it changes because we're not engaged in it, we're not responding or reacting to it. And so I am so sorry that you've been struggling for 2 years. That's a difficult, that's a long time, that's hard. And you mentioned some days 2 or 3 hours. Once again, it always goes back to how we respond. If we're perceiving that this is a danger or a threat and we're trying to fix this problem, and the problem is sleeping, which is something that no human can control, now we're going to feel anxious, vulnerable, and we're going to feel helpless because there isn't anything that we need to do to fix it. So if we can start moving further back and kind of allowing these nights to be maybe not checking the time, so we're not monitoring or tracking things, that's putting less pressure on ourselves. And then as we talk about on a regular basis, befriending wakefulness. Befriending wakefulness is just showing our brains that we're responding in a manner that isn't based on fear. We're not needing to fix or do something. There's no threat level, there's no danger. So what can we do is if we're awake to allow ourselves to help pass the time. I don't really use the word enjoy because I don't remember ever being awake at night and enjoying anything. Um, but I do notice a difference between just being aware and kind of thinking about the time just passing and maybe doing something that would maybe be a little bit softer, a little bit more gentle with myself that could be really helpful. But I think maybe something like the immunity program would be super helpful as you engage and understand how to deal with it, and also receive a tremendous amount of support from not just the coaches, but from the community of other people that are struggling. And I think once you realize that your struggle is so common, and people are moving past this, that's a tremendous amount of support, and also I think that can also give you a tremendous amount of hope as well. So, what do
Mm-hmm.
you think, Veronica?
Wonderfully said, Cristian. All you said, I totally agree, and I really don't have much to add. So cool. We have a question from Vinay Krishna. I've been on a daily goat 10 milligrams for a year. When I try to sleep without it, I don't get sleep at all. I got insomnia because of stopping sertraline. So, any thoughts, Cristian?
Yeah, I think anytime when we're using something to help us sleep, that
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like our little life raft. So if we're stranded in the middle of the ocean and we're grabbing onto something, it feels like it's providing us with comfort and support, which is wonderful because it can help us while we're moving through the struggle and helping us to get to the core of what the problem is, and we can start working on it. I know when I was struggling with insomnia, if I would have found a medication that could kind of ease things for a while, would have been absolutely wonderful. But I wasn't able to find anything that lasted. So in this case, I would say if you're taking a medication that's helping you for a while, wonderful. Maybe we can now start working on the real problem, how we got here. And so as time goes by, and I've seen this so many times through this program when people are on medications and several medications sometimes, right? Anxiety and the sleep medications and whatever the combination is. And as they start going and working through this program, they start recognizing again that this is all perceived fear, it's not a real threat. And then there's just this need that, just like the first comment that we got, it was, I feel like I'm ready. I just don't feel like I need it anymore. And so I think once you start working at the core of the, insomnia and what it is and understand it, then the medication is really going to be something optional. It's not something that you need to have anymore. What
Mm,
are your thoughts?
yeah, absolutely. And maybe what I would add is that every time somebody is changing in their habits or in their routine, it's always followed by monitoring. Whether we lower our dose, whether we change beds, whether we travel, whether we stop drinking chamomile tea,
Right.
whatever, then our brain is like, how does this work? How does this affect us? So, and the hyperarousal goes up, and we
Right.
are like, oh, what's going on in here?
Right.
And so it's very normal that all the hyperarousal goes up, and we experience some more bumpiness in our sleep, or we may experience more anxiety, because literally our brain is checking on us. Hey, is this okay? Is this safe? Is this normal?
Right.
So usually these things settles as long as we show our brain like, hey, I experience this some bumpiness, I experience this monitoring, so it means still that I'm safe, even despite I'm experiencing it, right? And when we just literally show our brain that even this bumpiness is safe, things will settle. And then in 2 weeks, we are again ready to lower the dose, because
Right.
always nothing is here a medical advice, and always work with your healthcare provider in terms of medication wean off. But absolutely, these meds, they are kind of like a crutch, like basically what you said, Cristian, that they help, they support us on our journey. They help us to bridge through the most difficult times, but they are not the long-term solution. They are just a temporary support, right? So Vinay Krishnan, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. um, I think it would be also helpful to you to kind of like delve into the teachings, to stay on the channel some more, to learn about what is insomnia about, how the sleep happens, that is a passive process, what is hyperarousal, that sleep is effortless, how medications work, that they work by delegation, how do we wean off, and all these kind of things. I believe they would be really, really helpful to you. And right, I think we are done with the questions for today, Cristian.
Yep.
I thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for these wonderful questions. And if any of you, even from those who are watching after this live, are interested in any one-on-ones with Coach Cristian, I will post a link under this video, so you can just enjoy the wisdom of Coach Cristian and learn from him. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.